Is this personal for you because of what's happened?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like, there's no way people can just get away with putting their hands on me, and that's just, you're getting a free pass on.
Fabio Wardley looked completely shaken after everything that unfolded against Daniel Dubosi, and the frustration in his voice was impossible to ignore. Following the savage punishment he suffered inside the ring from Dubosi, Fabio appeared absolutely enraged backstage, with reports now suggesting he lost control afterwards, yelling that he demanded payback and would have seriously hurt him if security had not intervened in time.
Fans, because that means they get to see it again, maybe, and they get another go at it. So, yeah, it's still a bitter pill to swallow. It's not a loss, but
everything reportedly erupted once the fight ended as Fabio Wardley allegedly snapped after the crushing defeat to Daniel Dubosi. Security quickly rushed to the scene as emotions flared backstage, while fans were shocked seeing Wardley respond with uncontrollable fury after suffering a brutal stoppage loss against Dubosi. Frank Warren attempted to settle everything down, but the situation had already spiraled beyond control by then. The mood after the contest turned extremely hostile because Fabio Wardley struggled to cope with being dismantled by Daniel Dubosi under the spotlight of the boxing world. While Dubosi remained calm and collected, Fabio reportedly erupted backstage, and that emotional response only convinced fans that the defeat affected him much deeper than most people first believed.
Looking at Tyson there, yeah. Do you believe that he would ever become undisputed?
Yeah.
At that point, you believed?
I believed in him. When we sat down, I knew what he had, and he unfortunately had lots of well-documented problems. He won the title. He didn't lose the title in the ring. He had to give the belts back, and he had, as we all know, some.
Adam Smith admitted the drama surrounding the fight has only intensified the rivalry even more, and the tension around a potential rematch is already starting to explode. But plenty of fans feel this went far beyond normal fight promotion because Fabio Wardley appeared truly enraged after Daniel Dubosi dismantled him in such ruthless fashion. Music. Dubosi left the scene looking like the mentally tougher competitor, while Fabio's emotional outburst sparked major doubts about whether he can bounce back from such a crushing and psychologically damaging loss.
I mean, in boxing terms, should that happen at a head-to-head? Of course not, but these things do happen. This is the fight business, and it's just...
Eddie Hearn almost seemed amused by the chaos surrounding the aftermath, but the entire situation had clearly crossed the line beyond ordinary boxing drama. Music. Fabio Wardley looked consumed with rage after Daniel Dubosi humiliated him, and the anger across his face was impossible to miss. Dubosi, on the other hand, remained calm, sharp, and completely unfazed because he understood he had already dominated the true contest inside the ring. Fans are now convinced Fabio is desperate for revenge after being thoroughly broken down both physically and mentally by Dubosi.
You know, I think when you're getting poked like that in a face-to-face, after a while the temper goes, and it's good. I think it's going to be that kind.
Carl Froch harshly pointed out the errors Fabio Wardley made, and after what Daniel Dubosi delivered that night, many people found it difficult to argue against his assessment. Fabio appeared careless, overwhelmed, and completely out of ideas once Dubosi found his rhythm in the fight. Dubosi remained disciplined, landed his punches with precision, and gradually wore Wardley down with every round. That is why so many fans now believe Fabio's backstage reaction was driven by pure frustration because, inside the ring, he simply could not figure out a way to stop Dubosi.
Fabio Wardley neglected all of his little bit of boxing skill, what he's learned over the white collar and through the fights that he's been involved in. I mean, he's had a fantastic career, and I don't think this is the end of Fabio Wardley at all, but he showed that he's a bit naive and a bit green. Like I said, his attacks were very crude. I don't know what Ben Davison should have been telling him. Stop throwing that overhand right from out of range. It's like he's looking for the knockout punch. He's not even got his feet in range.
Those remarks from Dominic Ingle were absolutely savage, and they highlighted just how much this loss hurt Fabio Wardley's image in the boxing world. Daniel Dubosi did far more than defeat him physically. He revealed the difference between domestic competition and genuine elite-level boxing. Fabio absorbed brutal punishment throughout the fight, and by the final stages he appeared completely shattered. That is why his emotional response afterwards stunned so many fans, because they could clearly see a fighter struggling to come to terms with a harsh and painful reality.
Slight difference, fighting a world champion, a legitimate world champion for a title, and beating a world champion who's already a world champion. And Fabio Wardley hasn't beat a current world champion to be the champion, has he?
Josie Parker's been a champion.
Yeah, but he wasn't the champion,
No.
right? So
Wade Plemons described a frightening image of how vicious the fight truly became for Fabio Wardley. Daniel Dubosi connected with huge punches that would have dropped most heavyweights. Yet Fabio somehow remained on his feet through sheer determination and resilience alone. But as the later rounds unfolded, he appeared drained, confused, and completely worn out from the punishment. That damage clearly followed him after the bout because the anger and turmoil backstage made it obvious Fabio was still mentally shaken by everything Dubosi had put him through.
I mean, this got to a point where Fabio is stumbling around. He's not even aware of his surroundings, it doesn't look like. The doctors are checking on him round after round. And, you know, I said Daniel had big stones to get off the canvas. Fabio Wardley's got a chin of iron because he ate some absolute nukes. Shots that put Anthony Joshua on the floor from Daniel Dubois and probably would have put a lesser man in the hospital that night. I mean, I'm sure Fabio's in the hospital now, but stretcher.
Barry McGuigan sounded sincerely worried, and after seeing what Daniel Dubosi did to Fabio Wardley, it is easy to understand the concern. Fabio endured brutal punishment from start to finish, and by the closing moments he appeared completely broken down both physically and emotionally. Dubosi dismantled him with relentless pressure, accuracy, and raw power until Wardley had nothing left to give. That is why the backstage scenes shocked fans even more, because rather than accepting the defeat, Fabio responded with frustration and chaos. Many people now believe the loss impacted him far deeper than anyone originally thought, and a music rematch could end up being incredibly dangerous.
Rematch, but I don't think he should fight. I genuinely don't think he should take that rematch. I think that's too dangerous. I genuinely think he took way too much punishment, and that was so severe. If I were him, I'd never fight again.
Derek Chisora absolutely tore into Fabio Wardley and didn't hold back at all. According to Chisora, Wardley's biggest issue was that he abandoned the fundamentals of boxing while chasing a single fight-ending shot against Daniel Dubosi. That reckless strategy suited Dubosi perfectly, as once he settled into his rhythm, he took control with smart pressure and heavy, well-timed combinations. Fabio began to look panicked and wild with his swings, while Dubosi stayed composed, patient, and increasingly dangerous. Fans now feel Wardley's explosive reaction after the bout was driven by frustration, as deep down he may know Dubosi exposed some serious weaknesses in his overall game. Duke McKenzie praised Fabio Wardley's toughness, but even he admitted the contest became difficult to watch. Daniel Dubosi repeatedly landed clean, heavy right hands without much resistance, while Fabio struggled to offer any real reply. As soon as the fight's momentum swung, the punishment turned severe, especially in the final rounds when Dubosi confidently pressed forward and walked him down. Fans acknowledged Wardley's bravery and willingness to stay in the fight, but many also felt sympathy for him as he appeared completely overwhelmed by Dubosi's power and accuracy. That one-sided beating helps explain why tensions boiled over backstage once the bout finally came to an end, with emotions spilling over after such a punishing and draining night in the ring.
Fabio Wardley has got a heart as big as a bucket, and some of the punches he took last night, he may not come back from, because he was taking right hands, he was eating them so flush. It was quite brutal to watch at times. I've actually felt sorry for Fabio.
Johnny Nelson highlighted the exact turning point of the fight, noting it came when Daniel Dubosi realized Fabio Wardley had no real second option to fall back on. In the early rounds, Fabio appeared sharp, confident, and threatening, but once Dubosi began reading his timing, the entire contest shifted. Wardley's structure fell apart, his composure faded, and he started to look increasingly exposed. With every clean shot Dubosi landed, he remained calm and methodical, gradually seizing full control of the bout while Fabio grew more desperate and erratic round by round. That apparent mental breakdown in the ring now makes the reported backstage anger and revenge talk seem even more emotional and deeply personal for Wardley after such a draining defeat.
This is the first half of the fight, he kept his shape. You know, the jabs working, dominant head to body, kept slinging that big right hand over the top. Now and again, he's whipping up the middle. He had good feet for a big guy, good feet. And I thought, you look the part. But then there was no plan B that he could rely on if that didn't work. And you saw from round 6, he lost his shape. The shape had gone because there was no plan B. You know, when he get hit, it was like he completely turned.
Daniel Dubosi showed a huge amount of respect toward Fabio Wardley in his post-fight comments, but there was also a clear edge of confidence from a man who went through chaos and still emerged victorious. After being dropped early, Dubosi refused to panic, steadied himself, and slowly flipped the momentum with discipline, resilience, and heavy, fight-ending power. That comeback makes the win even more impressive, as he never mentally folded under pressure at any stage. In contrast, Wardley appeared to lose his composure after the defeat, struggling emotionally once the result was sealed. Dubosi, however, carried himself with the mindset of a true world-level contender. Because of that performance, many fans now feel he has firmly established himself among the elite of the heavyweight division.
What a warrior he is, and came through that test. You know, coming off the back of a loss, I was a bit nervy to start off with and a bit all over the place, but I pulled it together and got the victory.
David Haye summed up why the boxing world still can't stop talking about the battle between Daniel Dubosi and Fabio Wardley. The contest had everything: knockdowns, shifting momentum, heated exchanges, and non-stop drama that kept fans locked in from the opening bell to the final round. But beyond the excitement, there was also a more serious side, as Wardley absorbed heavy punishment once Dubosi found his rhythm and settled into control. Dubosi stayed composed after the early chaos, gradually breaking Wardley down with sharper, cleaner, and more damaging shots as the fight went on. By the later rounds, he looked physically stronger, mentally calmer, and tactically superior inside the ring. That is why Wardley's emotional reaction afterward surprised many observers, as it reflected the frustration of a fighter coming to terms with being clearly beaten by a better man on the biggest stage of his career, leaving fans debating the aftermath even more intensely.
I've never seen a heavyweight fight that captivating, that entertaining, round after round, backwards and forwards. The heart on these guys, the balls, the bravery. That's what you want to pay. That's what you want to. We hope every time we tune in for a heavyweight championship, you're getting that type of energy. They both gave everything they had. I could watch that.
Sam Jones highlighted the exact turning point of the fight, explaining how early on it genuinely looked like Fabio Wardley could spring a major upset. Daniel Dubosi was under serious pressure after being knocked down, and at that stage many fans felt the contest was slipping away from him. However, instead of panicking, Dubosi remained composed, rebuilt his rhythm behind a sharp jab, and gradually began breaking Wardley down with ruthless accuracy and timing. From that moment, the entire momentum shifted, and Wardley started absorbing heavy punishment as the rounds progressed. Fabio displayed exceptional toughness, but resilience alone was never enough against a finisher of Dubosi's level and precision. The aftermath only intensified the drama, as Wardley's emotional reaction made it clear he was struggling to process how dramatically the fight had changed once Dubosi seized control and turned a difficult situation into a dominant performance.
Yeah, it was just incredible. I couldn't believe what I was watching at times there. I mean, listen, it was all going wrong at the start, wasn't it, when Fabio put him down a couple of times, but Daniel showed the heart of a lion in there, got it together, got behind his jab, and really started busting Fabio up. And by the way, Fabio Wardley is one hard bastard. My God, what a hard man. So is Daniel Dubois. Two very, very tough, strong men going at it for the world heavyweight title.
Ajit Cabale could hardly believe what he had just witnessed, as the fight erupted into chaos almost from the opening moments. Daniel Dubosi being dropped early only intensified the tension, making it seem like the contest could end at any second. However, what stood out most was Dubosi's recovery under extreme pressure, since many fighters would have mentally collapsed after such a dangerous start. Instead, he showed true championship instincts, clawing his way back into the fight through controlled aggression, discipline, and relentless pressure. Fabio Wardley did manage brief moments of success, but once Dubosi adjusted his timing, the entire bout shifted in a one-sided direction. The punches from Dubosi began to land heavier and more consistently with each round, while Wardley's output faded significantly. By the end, the fight had completely swung in Dubosi's favor, and the emotional aftermath reflected Wardley's visible struggle to process such a dramatic and punishing collapse in a high-stakes contest.